So some thoughts have also been running through my mind today. Just a lot of things are on my mind today. And one that I have learned from this past election, I don't know if you noticed, if you follow me on any of my social media, I have not spent a whole lot of time just bashing our current leadership. I'll state some actual news facts that I've seen, but I'm not going to do a whole bunch of videos and posts about what I feel about right now because he's our president and like literally that solves nothing. My attention really is on our relationship. Like, what are we going to do now? I've been doing some soul searching within myself, and I was talking some things out with a friend. And you know what we really need to focus on now, because we can't change who's in leadership, is we need to really be clear on how are we all going to relate to one another now. Are we going to allow this election to do what the past tried to do to us and divide us? Are we all going to be intentional about making sure this election doesn't divide us? This is one reason why I'm always very vocal and honest about my feelings, my experiences as a Black woman, because I do feel one thing that contributes to our division is sometimes Black people are not honest. We're not honest about what we feel. We're not honest about our experiences. And I think a lot of times we're not honest because it's often met with rejection and people don't receive it. We're accused of playing the victim. We're accused of lying, being too sensitive, of making it up in our heads, of judging all white people. And so I'm going through this process where I want to look at my heart and see, well, what am I going to do with myself now? And how is this going to affect my relationships? I do want to say that I really want to focus my attention on being very honest, very transparent about who I am, what I feel, what I'm experiencing, but to be honest from a place of love and genuine, and that shows a genuine effort of connection. And what I'm thinking is there's going to be some responses to that. Those who don't intend to work on healing race relations are going to say the same ugly things. And, I don't really engage with them. I just block them and keep it moving. Or I just don't keep engaging. But then those who sincerely want to understand, who want to heal our nation, one relationship at a time, are going to engage in conversation with that. They may ask questions that may make me feel uncomfortable, that may maybe even frustrate me because it may reveal some insensitivity. But a lot of times they'll ask those questions because there's a genuine desire to understand. And I've heard Black people sometimes say, oh, they know what they're doing. Some people don't. Some people, you've got to read Frederick Douglass's autobiography, his first one, because he has a chapter in there about the master's wife and the evolution she went through. Because she never owned slaves before. When she married the master, it just changed her. And just like racism has affected us in a certain way, white people are a victim of its evil effects too. And we all have to go through this process, just like Black people have to go through a process of realizing we're fearfully and wonderfully made, our brown skin is beautiful, our hair is good, we're smart, we have something meaningful to contribute because we've lived in a society that has constantly told us in so many different ways that we're unworthy, we're inferior. We have to change that about ourselves. White people have to go through a process of changing their thinking about how they view us, how they view themselves, and whatever else racism did in that community. We all need to be healed, right? And one thing I realized, I was reflecting on this today, is that, and someone's going to be irritated that I'm saying this, but I want you to hear my heart. I don't think people truly understand, it's sad but true, the great amount of pain and sacrifice it takes for a white man to stand with Black people, people of color, or marginalized people. Because America has had a culture of, if you stand with us, you will lose something. In the past, a white person would lose their life. I taught a class recently where I had the students, a predominantly white class, where I had the students look up all the people who were lynched that were not Black. They weren't allowed to choose Black people. and they took some time in class. I let them use their phones. And they looked at this list. They were shocked to see so many white people who had been lynched. And I said, well, what was the reason? They said most of them were lynched for helping black people. Politics, back in the day, when someone was running for an office, if they wanted to get the white vote, they had to say in their campaign speeches their desire to keep black people in their place, to keep us oppressed. That was a part of the campaign. That's historically part of American politics. And so once lynchings, through the great work of so many soldiers in this work, once lynchings became less and less and not as favorable to do, there were other ways of making a white person suffer for standing with. You could lose a job, a place in community, you'd be rejected by your family. My husband dated a white girl well before me, and he told me that her grandfather told her that she would be written out of the will if she married a black man. And so that relationship didn't last. So there are things that are part of the white culture that still happen today, that people who may want to heal relationships, want to heal black and white relationships, may be afraid, genuinely afraid. And we may think, well, that's too bad, that's what they get. But I want us to have a heart of compassion. Like, they would actually maybe lose a family members, parents, jobs, livelihood, because a lot of their culture is based on being in a certain space. This is why a lot of times when we work on the job and we make a friend who's white and we think they're our friend, and that friend finds out to be our friend, to be loyal to us, would put their job at risk, and they are silent. That's why. And so when a white person chooses to publicly show, I'm in support. I know white people who, like, when we would have police brutality and we would, like, say, for example, when George Floyd died or whatever, I know of white people who were afraid to express sadness over his death for fear of getting in trouble in their churches. I know of people who are part of homeschool groups where the leaders of the homeschool group will put you out of the homeschool group if you show too much support for the black community, Christian communities. So a lot of times white people have to go through a process of counting the costs. A white person makes a decision to speak up, whether it's right or not. If they just say, listen, I'm with you and I want to do it publicly, I do feel like there should be some grace. Abraham Lincoln, a lot of people give him a hard time because he was racist and he was prejudiced, but he was evolving. And John Wilkes Booth heard him speak at his second inaugural address about, and if you read the address, he is expressing, Abraham Lincoln is revealing how he's evolving. He's talking about, he now sees slavery as a sin that God was upset about. And John Wilkes Booth decided to take his life when he heard that speech. Lincoln was unalived for just starting to evolve with regards to how he related to black people. And he lost his life for it. And there's a long list of martyrs that happened to. So there is fear. Racism has created this demonic, oppressive demon that has affected all of us. And when any of us, black or white, break free from it and say, I'm going to stand with my human brother or sister, it always comes with a cost. So in this season that we're in, I'm praying that we don't come to a place of staying divided. I don't want us to be afraid of speaking truth, right? Even as I speak, I'm always fearful of, will I lose my job? What friends will I lose? Who's not going to ask me to speak? Because a lot of my livelihood comes from my speaking engagements. But I have to speak the truth. I hope you know it's from a place of love. I have to speak the truth. And we have to stand on truth. We have to come together at no matter what the sacrifice is, because that's the only way America will heal.